Look, we've been hearing the foldables are the future pitch for years, but most of them still feel like expensive science experiments. OPPO is claiming they finally killed the crease and built a pocket workstation that doesn't feel like a brick. Today, we're going to find out if the Find N6 is actually the peak of foldable tech or just another very expensive origami project. Let's get into it. First up, the backbone, the second-gen titanium flexion hinge. They're using 3D liquid printing here, which sounds fancy, but the real win is the 75% increase in flatness. It feels incredibly sturdy, but here's the devil's advocate view. Titanium is great for weight, but hinges are usually the first thing to crunch if dust gets in. It feels smooth now, but the real test is how this feels after 100,000 folds in a dusty pocket. They're calling this auto-smoothing flex glass. The idea is it bounces back to keep the crease shallow over time. In person, the crease is almost invisible, which is a massive leap. However, let's be honest, plastic-based flexible glass is still softer than the Gorilla Glass on your old slab phone. It looks perfect today, but you still need to treat this screen with way more respect than a standard device. This is actually a big deal. IP56, 58, and 59 ratings. Most foldables stop at water resistance, but OPPO is claiming protection against high-pressure jets and dust. It's nice to have that peace of mind, but don't go taking this into the ocean just because of a marketing slide. Saltwater and foldable hinges are still a recipe for a very expensive paperweight. The outer display is protected by ultra-thin nanocrystal glass. It's supposed to be way more drop-resistant without adding bulk. It feels premium and definitely gives the outer display a more traditional phone feel. My concern, if the inner screen is the weak point, does making the outer screen extra tough really change the overall durability math for a foldable? To keep things light but rigid, they've gone with shielded aluminum alloy frame. It's got a nice matte finish that doesn't seem to attract fingerprints like crazy. It's a solid choice for weight savings, but let's be real, aluminum still dings and scratches. If you're paying this much for a phone, you're still going to want a case, which kind of ruins the shielded aesthetic. OPPO is pushing this A1 Night Eye Comfort display. Most phones are still too bright when you're scrolling in bed, so dropping to one nit is actually a massive quality of life win. The AI Eye Care adjusts the color temperature based on your environment. It's one of those features you won't notice until you switch back to a normal phone and realize your eyes are straining. At 1.4mm bezels, this thing is basically all screen. It's sleek, it's light, and it finally has the snap key. I love a dedicated physical button for shortcuts, but it better be customizable. If OPPO forces us to use it only for their specific AI tools and doesn't let us map it to the camera or a flashlight, it's a wasted opportunity for a hardware feature. Now for productivity. The Free Flow window is OPPO's answer to desktop-class multitasking. You can drag and drop apps like you're on a PC. It works well, but here's the challenge. How many people actually want to do 3 things at once on a 7 or 8-inch screen? It's cool for a demo, but in real life, most of us just want 2 apps side by side without the UI getting glitchy. The OPPO AI Pen is here. It's precise and feels good, but it's an extra accessory you have to carry. If it doesn't dock inside the phone, and spoiler, it doesn't, you're probably going to lose it or leave it in your bag. It's a great tool for artists, but for the average user, it might just be another thing to forget at home. Inside the software, you've got AI Painter. You draw a stick figure or a rough shape, and it generates a high-quality image. It's a fun party trick and maybe useful for quick storyboards. But let's be honest, are you really going to use your $2,000 phone as a generative art terminal, or is this just something you'll play with for 5 minutes and never touch again? Circle to Capture is OPPO's version of the Circle to Search trend. It's genuinely useful for identifying things in videos or photos. It's fast, integrated, and feels like a natural extension of the UI. This is the kind of AI that actually makes sense. It solves a friction point instead of just being a flashy buzzword. The tool palette acts as your central hub for all these AI features. It's basically a sidebar that stays out of the way until you need it. It's smart, but the success of this depends on how many third-party apps it actually supports. If it only works with OPPO's native apps, the utility is going to be pretty limited. AI recording is a lifesaver for students or professionals. It doesn't just record audio, it transcribes and summarizes the whole thing. It's incredibly accurate. My only gripe is I hope the processing is happening on device for privacy reasons. You don't necessarily want your private meetings being uploaded to a cloud just to get a summary. AI mind space is where all your captured data lives. It's meant to turn fleeting moments into lasting knowledge. It's basically a supercharged notes app that organizes itself. It looks great, but it requires you to be fully bought into the OPPO ecosystem to get the most out of it. If your life is already in Google or Notion, moving everything here is a big ask. Phone and PC Connect allow for seamless cross-device work. You can even receive iPhone notifications on your OPPO, which is a wild bridge to build. It's a clear shot at the Apple ecosystem. It's smooth, but cross-brand connectivity is always a bit finicky. I'll believe it works instantly every time when I see it in a long-term test. Let's talk cameras. OPPO is continuing its partnership with Hasselblad. They're not just slapping a logo on the back, they've tuned the color science and the hardware to mimic that medium format look. This is arguably the most ambitious camera system ever put in a foldable. Let's see if the hardware can back up the branding. The main sensor is a massive 200 megapixel unit. That's a lot of pixels for a phone that has to fold in half. In good light, the detail is staggering. But remember, more pixels usually means smaller pixels, which can struggle in low light. 200 megapixels is great for billboards, but for your Instagram feed, it's mostly about the sensor's ability to bin those pixels for better dynamic range. When you toggle on Hasselblad high-res mode, the phone stops playing games and uses the full resolution. The file sizes are huge and the processing takes a second, but the clarity is undeniable. It's perfect for landscape shots where you want to capture every single leaf on a tree. Just make sure you have the 1 terabyte storage model if you plan on using this often. They've added 4K ultra-clear motion photos. Think of it like Apple's Live Photos, but on steroids. It captures high-res frames around the moment you hit the shutter. It's great for parents or pet owners, but let's see if it actually stays sharp or if the motion part ends up looking like a blurry mess in anything other than bright sunlight. Periscope lenses are hard to fit in thin foldables, but they managed a 50 megapixel sensor here. The zoom is clean and the stabilization is impressive. It's a game changer for foldables, which usually compromise on zoom. Finally, you don't have to choose between a big screen and a pro camera experience. This same telephoto lens doubles as a macro camera. Using a zoom lens for macro is actually smarter than a dedicated wide-angle macro because you don't have to get the phone so close that you block the light. The bokeh, that blurry background, looks much more natural this way. This might actually be my favorite part of the camera system. The 50 megapixel ultra-wide handles the big stuff. It's sharp from edge to edge with very little of that fisheye distortion you see on cheaper phones. It matches the color profile of the main sensor perfectly, which is something many manufacturers still struggle with. It's a reliable workhorse for those tight indoor shots or sprawling vistas. OPPO is bragging about the true color camera tech. The goal is to avoid that smartphone look, where the blues and greens are cranked up to 11. These shots look more like what your actual eyes see. It might look dull to some used to Samsung's punchy colors, but for photographers, this is exactly what we want. Video specs are through the roof. 4K at 120 FPS with Dolby Vision. This means you can get buttery smooth slow-mo with professional-grade color grading. The data rate here must be insane. It's overkill for a quick TikTok, but if you're a content creator, having this much headroom in your video files is a massive advantage. One of the best things about foldables is flex form. You just half fold the phone, set it on a flat surface, and it acts as its own tripod. It's perfect for long exposures or hands-free video calls. It's the one feature that makes you realize why a folding screen is actually a functional design choice, not just a party trick. Finally, AI Portrait Glow. It basically simulates professional lighting after you've taken the shot. It's subtle, it doesn't look like a cheap filter, but it adds that pop to the subject's face. It's great for saving photos taken in flat, boring lighting, though you have to be careful not to overdo it or it starts looking a bit uncanny valley. Performance-wise, we're looking at the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 paired with OPPO's Trinity engine. This chip is a beast, but the real story is how they handle the heat in such a thin chassis. The Trinity engine is supposed to manage memory and thermals so the phone doesn't throttle after 20 minutes of gaming. In my testing, it stays surprisingly cool, but don't expect it to stay chilled if you're rendering 4K video in the sun. They managed to cram a 6,000 milliamp hour battery in here, which is huge for a foldable. You also get 80-watt wired and 50-watt wireless charging. The battery life is actually solid. It'll get you through a full day of heavy use. But keep in mind, pushing 80 watts of power into a foldable does generate heat, and heat is the enemy of battery longevity. Use the fast charging when you need it, but maybe don't make it your nightly habit. AI Link Boost is one of those invisible features. It uses AI to predict when you're entering a weak signal area and switches antennas or boosts the signal to keep you connected. It sounds like marketing fluff, but in areas with spotty 5G, it actually does seem to hand off connections more smoothly than other phones. It's a nice to have that you'll appreciate when your call doesn't drop in the elevator. So, is the OPPO Find N6 the foldable that finally kills the slab phone? Almost. The hardware is incredible, the cameras are legitimately pro-grade, and the AI features are actually useful. But you're still paying a huge premium for the ability to fold your screen. If you want the best tech available and money isn't an issue, this is the one to beat. But for everyone else, it's a glimpse of a very bright, very expensive future. Let me know in the comments, are you ready to ditch the slab, or are you still waiting for the price to drop? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tech deep dives. See you in the next one.